All right. Good afternoon. I am Jessica Carroll, the implementation lead for Measure 110, and I'll be assisting with facilitation for today's meeting. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments or get on our interested parties email list by emailing oha.measure110@dhsoha.state.or.us. That email address and more information about the council can be found on the Measure 110 OAC website. For more information or support with community engagement, please contact me, Jessica Carroll. My email address will be dropped in the chat. OAC members have asked that the OHA and other staff who are present in the meeting space introduce themselves in the chat. Please share your role with the agency, and if you are a subject matter expert, your area of expertise. And with that, I'm going to send it over to Walter to please take roll.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start from the top of my list and just let me know by saying here that you are here. Amy. Okay. Blue.
Here.
Hi, Blue. Carlos.
Here.
All right. Caroline. Dharma.
I'm here.
Hey. All right. Aylwin.
Here.
Okay. Henry.
Here.
All right. Hubert. Karen. Karen's not going to be. Keisha.
Here.
All right. Lana. Leticia.
Here.
Okay. Melinda.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Hey. All right. Nicole.
I'm here.
Okay. Onisha.
Here.
All right. Ron. Ron, you there? Okay. Sabrina.
I'm here.
Okay. And Zeb.
I'm here.
All right. Now I didn't hear from Ron. Hubert?
I'm here.
Okay.
It's Hubert. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We got 14. I don't. Ron, I'll give you one more shot.
No,
So
I'm here
Steve.
too, Walter.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Caroline.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Steve.
Welcome, everybody. Hey, I'm here.
All right. And Reginald.
I am here.
All right. Okay. We've got 17. We got 15 voting members, 2 non-voting members. I'm going to turn it over to you. Back to you, Jessica.
Thanks, Walter. So all of your tri-chairs are with us this week, and Blue will be leading today's meeting. I will now turn it over to Blue to call the agenda and lead us into executive session.
Thank you, Jessica. So today we are going to be discussing, we're going to have an executive session, and then after the executive session, we're going to be discussing community agreements and public meetings, OHA updates on awards, the approval of policies for purchase and renovation of real property for the burns, grant agreement approvals, and rule changes to add supported employment and assessment for mobile outreach. And now I need to read the script for the executive session. The Oversight and Accountability Council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602 F and H. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to the live stream and resume the public portion of today's meeting.
Thank you, Blue. So now what we're gonna open a breakout room. So please accept the admittance into the breakout room. And we will then start executive session. And it'll just be 1 second while we get everybody invited.
Just really quick, does anyone know the last of Ron's phone number offhand? I just want to make sure that's his number before I let in the wrong person to executive session.
I believe that is Ron. Ron is on the phone.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay, thank you. Good call. All right. Welcome back. Just a quick reminder that we are going to be live on YouTube. We should be going live shortly. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Blue. Oh, Blue, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I feel like we can skip the community agreements just to give a little bit more time to everything else. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I'm fine with that.
Okay, great. So Blue, thank you. So we're going to be skipping the public agreements, community agreements portion of the agenda, and I guess we will go directly. Was that somebody saying something? Okay. We're going to go directly into the OHA updates. So can I get those slides up, please? All right, thank you. So here is the OHA update on the Measure 110 burn applications. Next slide, please. So subcommittees are nearing completion of application reviews and approvals. Subcommittee 1 has adjourned. And Subcommittee 2 has one final meeting on Thursday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. to complete their final vote. So congratulations, you all did amazing work. You put in a lot of time and hours into this, and I can't thank you enough. Next slide, please. All right, so these are the subcommittees have approved applications for the following counties. As you can see here, they've all been reviewed on this slide. Next slide. And look, we have another green. Yeah, pretty soon this whole thing is going to be green and we're not going to know what to do with ourselves. But in the meantime, we just have one more application. I don't see it. Well, so we just have one more application to vote on Thursday, and then we will be complete with all applications have been reviewed. Next slide, please. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. See, now we have 3 of these slides. We used to only have 2. And see, so it surprised me. We do have that one pending out of Deschutes County, which will get voted on Thursday. Next slide, please. All right, and so this is essentially the same information that I've given you every other week. This is what happens after letters of intent are sent out, then welcome meetings are developed, and there are materials provided regarding the grant agreement template, you know, the EFT and all of the MOUs and all the stuff that these organizations need to fulfill the rest of their requirements to get their funding. Next slide, please. All right, so this is exciting. So the welcome meetings and follow-up negotiations still continue. Meetings are scheduled in the order in which the counties are being approved. So here are our completed meetings. So we've completed a few more, and can we get the next slide? And here are the upcoming meetings for the next week. So we're really moving. I mean, these aren't all small counties. So that's really exciting that we're getting some larger counties done. Blue, do you need to ask a question now or after I'm done? It's up to you.
I just was confused on when you said completed, does that mean there's no more negotiating needed or just that you had a meeting? I just didn't understand that terminology of completed.
Oh, are you talking about the last slide? No,
Yes.
these are the initial meetings that are completed.
Okay, thank you.
Oh man, if that, yeah. But we'll get there pretty soon. Those will be completed and we'll get to do another dance. All right, so here are our upcoming meetings for the next week. And then this again is just step 4. The entities confirm that they can meet the county allocation, the MOUs are executed, they have their EFT submitted so they can get their money quickly. You all get to approve that, and then we get that rolling and we get that money dispersed within 20 days of all the steps being completed. Can we get the next slide? And the next steps in the process. I think we know this. We just need to make sure that we have everything that we need to make a burn. The budget is good and within the county allocation. We have all of the subcommittee concerns have been addressed, and that everybody has an MOU. Next slide, please. Thank you. Are there any further questions, or Steve, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just briefly, I think, so first of all, congratulations, council members. You have done an incredible job over the last couple of months of working your way through all of these decisions. And as we were just talking about, these decisions are really hard. And you've done a great job of making difficult decisions to support your communities. Second of all, we have 5 applications, proposals to bring forward to you today for your review and hopefully approval. But just to foreshadow, we believe that we'll have in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 total by the middle of this month, with a significant amount of dollars going out the door by the end of the month. We've been beating our commitment to get money out the door within 20 days. I think the first couple were within, 10, 12 days each. So we will, as you make your decisions, we're doing everything in our power to move this work along. So congratulations.
Thanks, Steve. Any other questions? I saw, Zeb, I saw your question. Yes, we will get you this PowerPoint. Any others? All right. So the next thing we have on the agenda is to talk about a policy for purchase and renovation of real property for the burns. So again, I'm just going to stand up this last slide of this PowerPoint, if that's okay. Or shall we just copy and paste this into the chat? PowerPoint's good? Okay. All right. So I'm just going to share my screen. So again, just to reorient us as to where we are here, we are talking about securing the Measure 110 property investments and kind of securing the investment that the Measure 110 Council is making regarding real property, and how you all choose to ensure or not that property is being used for its intended function beyond the grant agreement period of 18 months. So with that, is there any conversation?
I think it's acceptable to have that third slide up. That is the recommendation actually from OHA of applying our recommended what we utilize. So if you can just screen share the third slide, that would be the best approach.
Okay, thank you. It scared me for a second.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. Well, let me do this real quick. All right, there we go.
So this is Steve. The direction that we're looking for from the council is whether the language captured in these first 2 bullets about what's the threshold that this would kick in, and right now it's listed as 10,000, although you have flexibility to change that, and whether that securing of the property to ensure that it's used for your intended purpose for a community is that minimum of 20 years. And again, that's negotiable, that's up to you, but that's the sort of the traditional parameters that we've used at OHA. And the second bullet is about that number going down. So if someone were to sell that property halfway through, they'd have to pay back half. So each year that goes by in that 20 years decreases the amount that's owed back to this fund. So that's the recommended language, but open to discussion.
Thanks so much, Steve. Do we have any discussion?
Well, I agree with this because, you know, if we find an entity to get real property and then they decide they don't want to do what we gave them money for, then I think they should have to be paid a grant money if they're not going to use it for what it's intended. You know, so I think this is good for a safety net or to hold entities responsible for their property and what they say they're going to do with it. So I like this.
Thanks, Hubert. Any other thoughts?
This is Eowyn. I think it's important to be consistent with OHA policy when we can be, recognizing that sometimes we're trying to change things. But I agree with Hubert. I do think it's important to have this as a backup plan, and organizations presumably will not be going into debt because they would be refunctioning the property and presumably receiving funding for that new function. So they would be just transferring the remaining balance on that property back to OHA while they transfer the specific programming.
Thanks, Eowyn. Any other thoughts? Maybe a motion? Ron?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree that, you know, long-term investments in the infrastructure for recovery services, housing in particular is a great idea. I think it's a reasonable amount of time. And I agree with what I've heard my council members, my fellow members say. And I'm not sure if the motion is to accept this language. If so, so moved.
Thanks, Ron. So that sounds like a motion to accept this language, which is visible to you, and we will ensure we put in the actual motion in our notes. Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a second from Hubert. So we have a motion from Ron to accept, second from Hubert. Any discussion, Henry?
I was also going to just second the motion and say that I agree with what's already been stated by my committee members or council members. And I think there's a lot of really good research out there that suggests that folks that are seeking to have sustained recovery also achieve that through secure housing. So I appreciate this movement to try to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Any other discussion? Hearing none, seeing no hands, I'm going to throw this back over to Walter for a vote. And I'm going to take this down just so that we can better track that. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to take this from the top. Everyone. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
Okay. Caroline?
I abstain.
Oops. Thank you. Dharma? Eowyn?
Yes.
Okay. Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
Okay. Karen? Keisha?
Yes.
Okay. Lana? Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda?
Yes.
Okay. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. Onisha. Onisha, you there? I'll come back to you. Ron?
Yes.
Okay. Sabrina?
Yes.
Okay. And Zeb?
Yes.
Okay. And Onisha? Okay, she might. All right. Well, I have no Onisha. That passes with 14. And I'll turn it back over to you. Blue or Jessica?
I think it's Jessica.
I'll take it. Thank you, Walter. That motion passed. All right, so the next part of our agenda is grant agreement approvals. So I am going to turn it over to Steve. Oh, Onisha can't talk. So I think we're good. So I'm going to turn it over to Steve Allen, and I'm going to queue up our first slide deck, which I believe is Morrow. Or do you want a different one, Steve? We have several.
All good. It's all good.
Okay, so I'm going to pull up Morrow.
Yeah. Yeah, we are really excited. We have 5 county regions for your review. Again, just going back a couple of weeks, we've endeavored to keep this process as informative and straightforward as possible. So the 3 key things that we're looking for is A, was there any gaps in the service array that is required to have a complete burn? And you'll see some cases where there were. 2, is it within budget? So that county allocation formula that you voted on, does it get to that? And if so, if not, how do we get there from here? And then were there any concerns that were flagged in the subcommittee that need to be addressed? And so for each of these 5, what you'll see is, where we started, what those concerns were, if any, and then how we got to a place where it's within budget. All the boxes are checked for the service array that are required, and addressing any concerns. Just so you know, I was not in all of these negotiations, and so there may be a point where you ask a question I can't answer. I know Jessica just happens to be really good at some of this stuff, but we also have Kristen and Ashley who have been participating in all of these, who we have on speed dial. They're not in the meeting today, but we have access to them if questions arise. So first out of the box is Morrow County. Next slide. You can see that Community Counseling Solutions was the original proposal here, and they are proposing, and you have approved, they're offering all of these services. I'm just going to make a footnote about CCS Community Counseling Solutions, because this will be important for ones that will be coming up. They applied for multiple county regions, and in the process, because of the way that they crafted their proposal, they only ended up being eligible to apply for one because as they split up their proposal in a county by county, which was required, they did not get their all their materials in on time. But and here's why it's important for some upcoming counties for Grant, Gillum, and Wheeler, because they are an approved provider, that we felt comfortable, given that you've authorized them for another county region, to bring them into a county region which they weren't previously approved for, because they are, we consider them now to be an approved provider because you've approved them. So I'll get more into those details in an upcoming proposal. So in other words, they checked all the boxes. Next slide, please. Here's the difference. They originally proposed 2.7 million. The Morrow County allocation was just under 1 million. So they had about $1.5 million to make up. They described it as they went for the fences and sort of built out a proposal that they believed would serve Morrow County very well, but understood they needed to cut that back considerably. And so what you'll see in the next slide, I believe, is how they got there from here. So how will it reduce the funding? So they cut their staffing in half from 9 FTE, which was proposed, to just under 4.5. They will leverage staff they have in their other programs, medication-assisted treatment psychiatrist and nurse will be leveraged from other sources. So in other words, folks will have access in the program to these staff, but they won't be paid for through these funds. By reducing the staff, they have less office space and rental costs, but they confirm that all of the required services will still be covered, but in a reduced way. There were some concerns about the values related to the housing. Each person they report will be served in Morrow County will be screened for housing needs. So that's how they'll ensure access. Housing assistance will be individualized, low barrier. They will include emergency as well as long-term and permanent housing, so they'll a full array. And they relapse or use of substances won't cause people to lose their housing. Next slide. So by making those reductions in staff and in the building costs, they were able to reduce their request by $1.5 million. So we're able to come down to the overall amount. And you'll see there in the notes just confirming what we've talked about. I think that's the end. So addressed the concerns, got within budget, and checked all the boxes for the service array. Open to any questions if you have them. Hearing none, we would entertain a motion to approve this county for funding.
This is Ron. I'd like to make a motion to approve the funding for Morrow County.
Thanks, Ron. So we
I'll
have
second it.
okay, so we have a motion to fund Morrow County as presented. We have a second from Amy. Is there any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no hands, Walter.
Okay, let's rock and roll. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
Okay. Caroline?
Yes.
Okay. Aowen?
Yes.
Okay. Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
Okay. Keisha?
Yes.
Okay. Leticia?
Yes.
All right. Melinda? Melinda, you there?
Oh, yes. I couldn't hear you. Yes.
Okay. All right. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Nicole?
I vote yes.
All right. Onisha. Ooh, Onisha. Ron.
Yes.
Okay. Sabrina.
Yes.
Okay. Zeb.
Yes.
All right. That passes with 15. Turn it back to you, Jessica.
All right. So the next presentation I think we're going to get is Grant, Gillum, and Wheeler. And I'm going to share my screen and turn it over to Steve.
Yeah, thank you. So you'll see in a second why we sort of bundled these so you get a 3-for-1 with Grant, Gillum, and Wheeler. Next slide, please. So the matrix represents what was authorized by the subcommittee. And by the way, as we went back, Kristen was able to find that we originally got the matrix wrong. And so she revised it based on reviewing the comments and the council decision. So this, in fact, represents the approvals for all 3 counties. Only Boulder Care was approved for all 3. And that goes back to the fact that CCS did create applications for all three, is an existing provider in all three counties in person, has a presence, but they were eliminated because their divided or split applications weren't in on time, and so they weren't able to be considered. Also, for those folks who have reviewed Boulder Care, you're aware that this is, they provide an array of services, specializing in peer support, low barrier SUD treatment, but it's all virtual. They're a virtual provider. So we understood that a virtual provider only with those, two key areas wouldn't be sufficient. So we reached back out to CCS, engaged them. They were happy to revise their proposal and to partner with Boulder Care for all three counties for a combination then of in-person care as well as virtual care. And CCS actually welcomed the addition of an alternative provider, given especially the distance traveled and the remoteness of access to care in these counties. And so we ended up having some, I think, really positive collaborative discussions among the two providers. Next slide. So the original request from Boulder Care, and just to be clear, these numbers, look incredibly small: $3,700, $14,000, $2,700 are way too small to really provide any viable service. But in the context of their proposal was a statewide access to virtual care, which was around $8 million, I believe, for the whole state. And they would have gotten, considerable economies of scale in that access. And so that's why these numbers were so small. They weren't ever intended to really cover all the full waterfront. So there was, in all three counties, by the way, were also these threshold counties where the minimum level was $750. That's what the overall allocation was for all three. Next slide. So the key question that came through on the subcommittee was whether Boulder Care would be able to provide technology. If you're going to provide access to virtual care, you need to know that people have a cell phone or a laptop or iPad to be able to connect to, and they said that they would be able to provide those devices and able to connect people to their remote services. Next slide. So again, we brought Community Counseling Solutions, CCS, and it just provides a little bit more information. They operate in a number of counties, many of which you'll see here, including now Umatilla. That county, I think, will come up next week. There's some technical challenges that, as I mentioned, eliminated their original application. And then they partnered with Boulder Care to provide those services. Okay, next slide, please. So here's the finished array. You'll see Boulder Care's original proposal for remote access to low barrier substance use treatment and peer support. That remains all three, and in partnership with CCS, which now checks the remaining boxes. So we have complete burns in all three counties and a partnership between Boulder Care and CCS. Slide. And here's how the budget laid out in our negotiations. Boulder Care agreed to $40,000 allocation for remote services in all three counties. And CCS downsized the original request significantly across all three counties down to that $710. And so you'll see that pattern is consistent across those three counties. Both organizations are agreeable to those allocations. CCS confirms that they can provide that full range of services across each of the counties that they have a presence in. And I think that's it. Happy to take any questions.
All right, hearing no questions. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Yep, go for it. Yep, no, you're driving.
All right, hearing no questions, and say, oh, I see a hand. Henry.
Yeah, sorry to believe, I don't want to belabor this too long. I'm just curious about, so the MOU that will be signed will then include CCS and Boulder Care in providing those services. And, sometimes I think there can be, when you're working between agencies, interagency communication, all that stuff can sometimes be tricky. So I'm not sure if CCS would also have access to like peer support services, for example. Is that going to be through Boulder Care, or would they also provide their own person that's like in the community?
Yeah, CCS has existing peer support services. So those in-person connections, Henry, will still be provided through CCS, but people will have choice now. And they will also be able to access peer support services virtually if they so choose.
Ron?
Yeah, my question is probably not, I'm not sure that you'll be able to answer this, but it's essentially related to Boulder Care providing technology support to people who want to connect. Was that a specific budget line item, or how much are they allocating to that?
Yeah, Ron, I don't have the budget available to me at the moment. I'm not sure if our phone of friends can get that information before the vote, but they have agreed to provide that technology to people who don't have it.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. I just it'd be interesting to have it.
Yep. See your hand, Blue.
So since I'm in the subcommittee that approved the Boulder Care applications, I will just share that most of the applications were from counties that had not huge populations. So their estimated people they were serving were not astronomical numbers. And it was just an ask to, I think, add that in to make sure that they were creating something that was accessible in the more rural areas.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blue. And that's exactly how it was described in our meetings. Appreciate that.
All right. So, Ron, did you have another question, or is that?
No, I was going to say that I really appreciate OHA's flexibility and willingness to work with CCS and in the small counties to ensure that they were able to build out those services. I really appreciate that. And with that, I would like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the funding for Grant, Gilliam, and Wheeler counties.
Thanks, Ron. So we have a motion from Ron to fund Grant, Gilliam, and Wheeler counties. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Oh, we have a bunch of seconds. I think Blue got there first. So we have a motion from Ron, a second from Blue. Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none. Walter.
Let's go. All right. Oh, okay. All right, there we go. All right, Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
Okay, Caroline?
Yes.
Okay. Aowen?
Yes.
Okay. Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, Karen. Keisha?
Yes.
Okay. Lana. Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda?
So Melinda put in the chat that she can't talk right now, but her answer is yes.
Thank you. Morgan?
Yes.
All right. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. Onisha? I think I saw.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Ron?
Okay, do you state for the record what Onisha put in the chat?
I can. Onisha's vote is yes. She can't talk. That was from an earlier message.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Ron. Sabrina. Okay. Zeb.
Yes.
Okay. And that passes with 16. Yes. I'll turn it back to you.
And Sabrina's in the chat as well, just in case you didn't. Okay.
Yep. I got it. Thank you. Right on. Thank you. Back to you, Jessica.
Thank you. And with that, I'm just going to turn it over, share my screen and turn it back over to Steve to look at the Lake County proposal. There we go.
And I think this is our last one today. Is that right, Jessica?
You are correct.
Awesome. All right, Lake County region. Next slide. There we go, thanks. So the Lake Health District is the provider here. As you see, all of the boxes are checked. They had a full burn going in. Next slide. So this was the big challenge, as we see in a lot of the county regions, is what they requested far exceeded what was available. So they had to take a hard look at their application and look at where they could cut back. Next slide. So, the big change was, rather than building out, again, we were just talking about sort of real estate investments, capital, construction, et cetera. So the big change in their application was to shift and then rent and renovate a space instead of buying a new building. And in doing that, they were able to take $2.3 million from their budget, which got them much closer. Next slide. So here's the other pieces of how they got down to the allocation. So again, remove the building purchase and renovations. That's that 2.3 million that we just saw. Scaled back. They had 2 vans that they requested, so they cut down to 1. That saved 55,000. They reduced their staffing budget, similar to what CCS did, to be able to get back. So that was another 1.2 million and some change. They removed the peer support travel and stipends, 76,000, and reduced their technology costs another 28,000. So some tough cuts here, as you could see, but their dedication, their goal was to remain able to provide the full array of a burn and to get within that budget allocation. So they are, so now I don't think there were any concerns other than the budget for this county region. It was a matter of just, could they get within budget and still cover all the bases? So you can see how they did that. I think that's it for the slides. Happy to take any questions. I will just add that all of these county regions that we've been talking to, even when they're faced with some really tough choices about sort of what they imagined that they might be able to do and what they were able to do with allocated funding, folks are still really excited about this and being able to do this work, because it's funding that they didn't have, and to be able to do things they weren't previously able to do for their communities. So these have not generally been hard conversations, other than the tough decisions that they've needed to make to be able to get to budget.
All right, are there no questions for Steve? Hearing no questions, is there a motion?
Make a motion to fund this application. Sorry, Blue.
You're good. I'll second it.
Oh, there you go. See how that worked out? All right, so we have a motion from Zeb to fund the Lake County proposal. We have a second from Blue. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, Walter, when you're ready.
I was muted, sorry. Amy, how do you vote?
Sorry, my phone got stuck. I vote yes.
Thank you. Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
Okay. Caroline?
Yes.
All right. Aowen?
Yes.
Okay. Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
Okay. Keisha?
Yes.
Okay. Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda? Oh, okay. Melinda in the chat says yes, so I just want to state that for the record. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Onisha?
Onisha said yes in the chat.
Okay, for the record, Onisha said yes in the chat. All right, Ron?
Yes.
Okay, and Sabrina?
Yes.
Okay, and Zeb?
Yes.
All right, that passes again with 16. Turn that back over to you, Jessica.
Can I jump in one more time, Jessica? Yeah, so, well, first of all, congratulations. That was 5. We're now under 30 county regions remaining. We know we have some big ones coming, but we're hoping for at least 3 and maybe up to 5 again next week. So moving down the road. So congratulations. We are definitely making progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Steve. That's pretty amazing. The next conversation that we're going to have, and I know we're short on time, but it's for, oh, sorry, Henry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. And maybe it's kind of a late question. I was just curious, was that the Lake County Health District? Was that the county health department that we just funded? That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. We want to let you know information when you need it. All right, so we only have, a little bit of time left, but we really need to talk about the rules. And so we have brought our fantastic rules expert extraordinaire, Colleen Needham, to kind of outlay what we sent to you in an email regarding how we can put in some temporary rules to cover supported employment and mobile outreach. Colleen.
And thank you, Jessica. Hi, guys. Good to see you. It's been a little while. Colleen Needham. I'm the OHA ODHS Administrative Rules Program Manager. So I work to support all 25 rule chapters that OHA, the OAC, and DHS work with. So I got updated that we have some suggested changes from our DOJ council, just about kind of related to our RFGA process, if I can get that right. To adopt changes to our rules. So no new rules are needed, I believe. I believe you all got an email regarding the 2 changes. I don't know if somebody can pull it up so I don't have to share and talk at the same time if we want to share a screen. But the rule changes are simple. We want to add 1 to the definitions for, quote, supported employment. Means individualized services that assist individuals with substance abuse use disorder in obtaining and maintaining employment in the community and in continuing treatment for the individual to ensure rehabilitation and productive employment. And this was taken from our Medicaid, slightly modified from our current definition in Chapter 410. So it aligns with the Medicaid rules in OHA. I want to just pause there. I'm going really fast because we don't have a lot of time. I know you guys know I can talk really fast, but does anyone have any questions about that?
Yeah, I just want to call out that I should have had this up and I just don't. So I'm just looking.
It's
yeah.
Okay. Ron.
Yeah, hi. I'm just curious in terms of procedurally, so in terms of opening the temporary rules, what is that process? What needs to happen?
Yeah. So if you guys recall in long ago time, for those of you that were here on the council and watching or participating via OHA, is when we adopt temporary rules or emergent rules, it means that we can adopt them upon the council's agreeing and voting on them here at a meeting, and then we follow through. OHA has a rules coordinator assigned to you, Hannah Christensen, and then I help assist, and we file temporary rules with Secretary of State based on the changes. And if I recall correctly, the last time we did it, it was one of the tri-chairs. And I believe, Keisha, it was you who kind of were the official authorized signer, and that would still be the case with our paperwork that we have filed with Secretary of State. So if we're going to file temporary rules, we give them to the council like we have done, and then we vote here, and then we give them to Keisha for kind of a final official, the way Secretary of State goes about having one person rather than a whole council or a group of people that vote on them. And then they change officially as soon as we file those, but they're only good, temporary is only good for 180 days. So usually I keep us on track, or Hannah or Nita keep us on track to kind of maintain and get our permanent rules in place before those expire. If they expire at 180 days, they revert back. So we kind of don't like that. That's not good.
So you're going to come back and let us know?
Yeah, I'm going to keep bugging you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought maybe you missed me, Ron, so I would come back a couple of times. But yeah, the idea would be I wouldn't be invisible. We would kind of come back and get them in place, give you a little bit of breathing time because you still got some other things going on. And then say, okay, let's work on getting our notice. And at that time, when we file a notice, oh, thank you for getting the rules up there, Jessica. When we file the notice of proposed rulemaking, that goes out to the whole wide world, and said we can add changes that include these emergent needs and any other housekeeping, which is to say something like we want to change how this sentence is worded, because in plain language it would help us to be clear to use, a certain definition. We just want to follow along with our statutes, our Oregon revised statutes, or us to make sure we don't, say put in the rule that everyone gets a cupcake on Tuesdays, because that would be beyond our authority. Yeah. Okay, so any questions about this rule that we're seeing up on the screen right now? This would be a completely new definition. It's not in there before, so the reason why you're seeing it underlined means it's brand new. Oh, Ron, go ahead. I see your hand.
I'm just curious as to whether or not, one of the things we talked about was, or maybe it's just in my imagination, was subsidized employment. And I was just wondering if pre-apprenticeships could be a part of this. I'm just curious.
Good question. Is Allison still on?
I'm here. What was the question about? What category was it?
Subsidizing job subsidies and pre-apprenticeships. Could they be part of supported employment?
So I think it's up to the council how you want to define supported employment services. But I'll note that the definition here says these examples, and it says including but not limited to. So I guess it'd be up to the council if you wanted to add some additional examples in there or not. The place where these examples came from, or they're the same ones that are listed in the definition for supported employment in the 309-019 rule. So it's that's where that language came from.
Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. Okay, I'll scroll down a little bit because we're on a little bit of borrowed time here. The other rule change that we have is really small, but it's to this rule, 944-001. Oh, can you hold for a sec so I could read the title? So everybody gets at least where we are. Thank you, sorry. Operational policy and service and support requirements of the BERNs, the Behavioral Health Resource Networks. So Now you can scroll all the way. This rule was a long rule, and we're adding just one little sentence. We'll see it in, I believe, bright red. There we go at the end. We're adding two different paragraphs here. Paragraph I, little I, and little j, assessment of the need for and provision of mobile and virtual outreach services as required in ORS 430.389-2DE and supported employment. And supportive employment is why we're defining it in the rule above. So it's saying, yes, we will do that. And this, again, I think comes from statute that's listed there and Senate Bill 755, one of the requirements for statute. So that's why we're adding that in. And I think there was something about it relating to the
RFGA.
Yeah, exactly. The RFGA. Thank you.
Yeah. So essentially, we need to add these to the rules. Number one, because mobile or virtual outreach services, what you're seeing on your screen right now is in Senate Bill 755 and supported employment. So in order for us to, or in order for you to ensure that supported employment is facilitated in a way that one, meets your values, but two, I believe this was taken from a rule specifically so that providers who do bill Medicaid can continue to bill Medicaid, so they wouldn't have to use your Measure 110 funds unless for some reason it was something that wasn't Medicaid billable but allowed by you, the council. Or number two was they don't bill Medicaid, they don't have that system set up, so they could use the Measure 110s to provide supported employment. Does that sound right? And
yeah,
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the rule it references is the 309-019-0275 paragraph 3, in case anybody's, but it's a 309 rule. So does anybody have questions about this addition? Do we feel comfortable maybe having a motion to vote to accept these rule changes to allow Hannah and myself to file these rule changes?
I give a motion.
Second.
All right, well, Hubert, can you tell us what your motion is first real quick?
My motion is to, I guess, rectify these changes going forward.
Accept the rule changes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, so I think we have a motion.
So wait, hold on. Ron, you give the motion, I'll get the second.
I would like to make a motion to accept these rule changes.
And I second it.
Okay, so I have a motion from Ron. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so we can see each other. I have a motion from Ron to accept the rule changes as proposed. We have a second, Hubert. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no hands, I'm going to hand it over to Walter when you're ready.
Okay, let's do it. Amy, how do you vote? Is Amy still here? Oh, so Amy, are you there? I can come back to you. All right, Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
Okay. Caroline?
Yes.
Okay. Eowyn?
Yes.
Okay. Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
All right. Keisha?
Yes.
All right. Leticia?
Yes.
Okay. Melinda? Is there anything? I can't see the chat if she said yes or no. Okay.
Not yet.
All right. Morgan?
Yes.
All right. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. And for the record, I see a yes from Onisha in the chat. Okay. Ron?
Yes.
All right. Sabrina? Is Sabrina here?
It looks like Sabrina is no longer here.
Okay. Zeb?
Yes.
All right. And then Amy. Ooh.
Amy said that she's having a phone issue again, and yes is Amy's vote in the chat. Oh, and there's Amy who can speak for herself. Do you want to speak for yourself, Amy?
I can barely hear anything again. My phone, every time somebody tries to call, it cuts me off, and then I get all this stuff. So my vote was yes.
Okay.
If you can hear me.
Hey, yep.
And yeah, so
All right.
don't yell at me.
14. Thank you, Amy. And that passes back to you, Jessica.
All right. Thank you so much, Walter. You all are rocking it. You're fantastic. And I just want to note that Henry has expressed his gratitude to you all in the chat. And we're all expressing our gratitude to you because you are doing amazing. So with that, we are 3 minutes over time, and I want to honor that for everyone.